Yo, what's going on guys? It's Anime One back here with another video, and today I'm here with another portal. What if Naruto had the jougan? So if you guys like the content in the channel, please subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, also like this video. So let's begin the video. It has been a long while since everything had settled down. Naruto was in his bed with several injuries, as the member of the Akatsuki's were also pretty injured due to their recent fight that they had with Konoha. They were trying to invade them. Naruto had his eyes opened as he thought of what happened. Flashback. This is gonna be a big one, so I hope you guys have your popcorn ready. So let's begin. Naruto just set out to his location, where he got the information that Konoha Shinobis were trying to invade. He was with his Akatsuki friends / members. He could not bring all of them because he had to evacuate the people of the village, just in case the Konoha Shinobi somehow managed to penetrate his defenses. Make sure that his people were not hurt. To him, his people's life were more precious than anything. This land of rain was the new Uzu for him, and he would make sure that it was safe. Naruto sensed them. He could sense Minato, Fugaku, and also a very strong one who was very comparable to Minato in strength. That he didn't know who he was, but he had to guess. Leaf sent one of 3 strong shinobis out there. How did he know Fugaku? Because he had sensed the man once. Minato because simply he had met Minato 2 times already. And the other man, Naruto didn't know who he was, but he was sure that he was strong. Naruto looked at the 2 people that he brought with him. One was Arashi, and the other was Nagato. Kisame and the others would come soon to back them up, but 3 versus 3 would be the perfect ratio. Naruto, on the other hand, he knew only 3 of them, they all would get tired, but it was what it was. Naruto came face to face with his father and the other 2. Seeing the other man, his eyes widened a little. Sakumo Hatake, the white fang of the leaf. Who would have thought 3S rank shinobi? Hears and really doesn't like to take chances now, does he? Naruto thought in his mind. Nagato side glanced at Naruto. So, I'm guessing you want to take on the Flash. And I guess I'll take on the Uchiha Arashi. Naruto said, as Arashi looked at him. You take on Sakumo Hatake. I'm pretty sure you're strong enough. Your chakra levels rival that of a Biju. You should be fine. Just remember what you've been through all these years. That's enough of a fuel to get you strong enough to beat him, Naruto said. But before anything, Minato looked at his son. I didn't want it to come to this, Naruto, but we both gotta do what we have to do for the sake of the people that we love, and for the sake of our village. Minato glanced back at the shinobi. All of you, go, Minato said. And as soon as Minato said that, all shinobis charged forward towards the 3 men that were Kage level shinobis. Naruto opened his jougan, as that alone sent a lot of killing intent behind it. Most of the people were now sweating because of the middle one, the blonde one that was there. His eyes were so menacing. That eye, it's him, one of the shinobi said. Yeah, that's the moon eye, alright. The Dark King of Darkness is what he's called nowadays, said the other one. If we kill him, The bounty on his head is quite high. We'll be rich. Said another shinobi. They all smirked as they all leapt off towards Naruto. Nagato stepped forward. You don't need to handle these pests, Naruto. Leave them to me. Almighty push, Nagato said, and a huge force was sent off to all the shinobis. They tried everything in their power to just stay there, but they were all blown back. Nagato went through handshine. Summoning jutsu, he said, as in a several poof of smoke. Bird appeared. His beak was the rather large one, and he also had the Rinnegan in his eyes. A three-headed dog, and also a rhinoceros. Nagato commanded them all. Go, he said. There was pretty obvious. 3,000 Konoha shinobi were not a normal amount, so he needed support. Naruto looked at all of them. This is gonna be an easy one. Naruto's body started getting surrounded in a black aura. Cruzo, Naruto whispered. And several shinobis were pulled towards Naruto. They could not stop it. Naruto had a black aura around him. As where there were 1 meter radius within Naruto, all of them had a black substance piercing right through them, as it was in the shape of a spike. Naruto side-glanced at Minato, who had a rather emotionless look in his eyes. Are you just gonna stand there, father? Naruto said. Minato shook his head. I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity. Battling you head on with your reputation. I don't want that, Naruto, Minato said. Then Arashi stepped forward. Chains erupted from Arashi's back as he started slaughtering the Konoha shinobis. Only 3 shinobis were capable of doing so much damage. But the main 3, Fugaku, Minato, and Sakumo, didn't step in yet. What was Minato planning? He was the head of this one. Sakumo looked at Minato. You still aren't giving us the signal to go ahead. Are you letting our people get slaughtered, Minato? Minato hardened his features. I'm doing what I need to do to win this battle. That's as simple as it's gonna get. But remember not, all of our people will not die. Most of them will survive. I'll make sure of it, Minato said. As Sakumo noticed something. The only ones that were fighting Naruto and Nagato and Arashi were Chunins. Oh, so that's your plan. Sakumo and Fugaku thought at the same time, looking at the yellow flash of the leaf. It was obvious why Minato was said to be the next Hokage. The man was a genius, and a battle genius as well. It was obvious why he was selected Minato as the head of this mission, because the man was very smart, and he was proving it right here. Naruto, on the other hand, was slicing through the Konoha shinobis with his sword like butter. His sword was weird, as everyone knew. It was a legendary sword of the Uzumakis. Minato knew that, but how long will Naruto keep on going? That was the main question. 3,000 shinobis. If we divide that, 1,000 for each. It was sure that they were gonna get worn out. And where that happened, that was when the 3 were gonna step in. Nagato and his summonings were drilling through the Konoha shinobis pretty easily. Nagato was just, doing whatever he could to kill them all. So he had 6 arms right now, 4 that he constructed with the help of the osteopath. And whatever the shinobis had thrown at him, at least ninjutsu-wise, he absorbed them all. And then he just threw them all back with double the force. It was simple. And Arashi, with his chains, which were even stronger than the ones that Kushina had, His chains were his absolute defense. If the enemy tried to hurt him, his chains would act as an instinct and just jump in front of him and block any attack. Meanwhile, the other chains just did the killing work. Urashi was now an SLR rank ninja, and that was showing why he was feared among the elemental nations. They had killed half of Konoha forces, but Minato noticed something. Yes, they were getting tired. Now, said Minato, as Fugaku and Sakumo nodded. As they leapt off, Urashi noticed something. So they're finally gonna interfere, huh? He thought, as he vanished in a flash and appeared in front of Sakumo, who was coming towards Naruto. As Arashi spoke, your fight is with me. Before you use the king himself, you must fight his knights. Narashi said. Sakumo smirked. Well, if that's what it takes, then come, knight of the king, he said. Arashi smirked. I'm not sure if you'll stay alive after this, white fang of the leaf, Arashi said with a smirk. Meanwhile, Fugaku, with his Susanoo around him, was rushing towards Naruto too. He wanted to get the main leader out of this so that everything would go smooth. But before he could, a strange invisible force hit him that sent him flying back. Even in the Susanoo, he couldn't, well, do much. As Nagato stepped in front of him. You're not going anywhere. If you want to get to him, you have to get through me, he said. Fugaku gritted his teeth. Those eyes, the Rinnegan, the eyes that are feared, that even the sage of the six paths had himself. Who would have thought that those were not myths, but actual? They existed in this reality, Fugaku said. Nagato smirked. You'll see what these eyes are capable of very soon. Fugaku, the wicked eye. Don't worry. I'll make your death a little less painful. Nagato said, as his chakra started flaring up. Meanwhile, Naruto was panting a little. He had used so many of his jutsus, and of course it was getting tiring even for him. He was not at his 100%. At least he had exhausted half of his power. And the most of the kills that happened today, it was done by Naruto. Urashi and Nagato were also there, but Naruto was the one who had the most kills, and he was exhausted as fuck. And that was the reason why Minato was the one who was in front of Naruto with a serious look on his face. Naruto, Minato said. Father. Naruto said back, as they both had an emotionless look on their eyes. Who would have thought that I would meet you again, but as an enemy, said Minato. His tone was regretful. Naruto could see it. Minato didn't want to do this, but just like Naruto, Minato loved his village to the extent that he would be even willing to sacrifice his own life for it. And that was what Naruto respected about his father. The one thing that he loved, that he inherited from his father, the love for his village. But unlike Minato, Naruto was a Kage. He had more responsibilities than the Yellow Flash, and that was that. I know about your abilities, Naruto. You can absorb ninjutsu, so I'm not gonna even try. The only thing that works against you, Minato said, as he held up his hand, and Tiger Seal, his taijutsu. Naruto also held up with the Tiger Seal, as they were both gonna start it. So you're well informed, huh? Well, but same doesn't go for you, but just as a sign of respect, I'll only battle you using taijutsu, and if push comes to shove, some of my ninjutsu. said Naruto. Minato had a really bad feeling about this. He didn't want to do it. As they now started begin, they both thought at the same time as they rushed forward and engaged in each other in a taijutsu battle. As they were engaging each other, they both were emotional wrecks, especially Minato more than Naruto. Minato because he was battling his own son to the death, and Naruto because, well, it was his father, even if Naruto didn't like to admit it. He wanted to have his family in his life, his mother, his father in his life. But this world was cruel. What could he do? Minato dodged the fist from Naruto as he sent another fist towards Naruto, who ducked under it and tried to kick Minato in the stomach, but Minato leapt backwards as he appeared behind Naruto as he tried to swipe a kunai towards Naruto, but Naruto dodged it as he tilted his head. He then turned backwards and punched Minato away. But then Minato took out a kunai as he sent it towards the air, and he teleported to it. Once he did, he sent the kunai backwards as he teleported behind Naruto. And with a Rasengan, Naruto just looked at Minato. Such fool, he thought, as he grabbed Minato's hand with the Rasengan and started absorbing the chakra off it. But what Naruto didn't notice was there was a three-pronged kunai right behind him. Minato flashed towards the three-pronged kunai that was behind Naruto, but to Minato's surprise, Naruto, without even looking back, had blocked that kunai that was coming towards him with his own. How? Thought Minato. Naruto had his jougan opened, and that provided him 360-degree vision. Unlike the Hyuga, who had a weakness, Naruto's jougan didn't. It was a full 360-degree vision. So, Minato could not sneak attack on Naruto. He could see everything. Naruto's sword started getting covered in a silver aura. Let's see how you deal with this. Eclipse release. As soon as Naruto said that, the kunai that was clashing with Naruto's sword started, well, disappearing into thin air. What the? That thought Minato. As he flashed away, he looked at his kunai that was now split in half. Well, most of it had disappeared. So that's the infamous eclipse release I've heard about. Anything that the silver aura touches, it disappears into oblivion, thought Minato. Naruto tapped his hand against Minato. I got in the air. Eclipse release, Naruto whispered. As the white and black balls started forming into one singular silver ball of condensed energy. Solar eclipse, said Naruto, as he fired off the huge silver ball towards Minato. Minato held his two three-pronged kunais out. Flying Raijin, guiding thunder, said Minato, as a seal appeared right in front of him as he started sucking away the destructive silver energy. As once it's completely sucked it away, in a distance, a huge explosion went off as Minato looked at a distance. So if that would have hit me, I would be a goner, thought Minato. But then he looked at the side of him to see Naruto coming towards him with high speeds. As soon as they did that, they engaged each other in taijutsu battle. This time, Naruto swiped at Minato with his sword. It seemed like time slowed down as the sword cleaved right through Minato. But Minato turned into lightning that zapped Naruto away. As out of the ground, Minato came and kicked Naruto away. that sent Naruto skidding back. As soon as Naruto lifted his head, before he could do anything, a kunai was right at his neck. "Don't move, son," said Minato, as he said that in a regretting tone. Naruto just looked at his father. He didn't move. Minato retracted his kunai, as Naruto was exhausted. Using the eclipse release so much was not good, and he knew that for a fact. But he had to do for the sake of his people. Naruto lifted up his hand to say something to his father, who was walking away from him, but he couldn't. He couldn't say anything to his own father by blood. Meanwhile, Minato's eyes were hidden by his hair. He wanted to say something to his son, but he couldn't. He just couldn't. What would he say? That he was sorry for abandoning him. Sorry for not being there when he needed him. Sorry for being a bad father. No, he just couldn't. So Minato walked away with a guilty feeling in his heart, leaving Naruto just there to do nothing. Naruto realized what his father had did. He sent all the Chunins after him, so that the higher ranking, the people that are more powerful, would not get killed in this battle. To save the military strength of Konoha to its max, and Konoha were also fighting wars with Kumo and Stone at the time, so they didn't have enough manpower to spare all their shinobis, 3,000, and the truth was, only 1,000 of them had died, and most of them had survived. But Minato knew one thing: he had to retreat. He would call out for the others, and he would just say to Hiruzen that they were pushed back. That was it. He didn't want to do this, but his son had worked so hard, he would not take that away from his son. He couldn't. Meanwhile, Urashi was getting beaten down by Sakamo, as a kick planted into Urashi's stomach, as he was sent flying back, as his forehead crashed into a stone, as he started bleeding from his forehead. Some of his bones were broken, and he was not in the best state. Even with his chains, he could not match Sakamo's speed or the man's strength. It was obvious why the man was said to be stronger than the Sanis, for a reason, and Urashi saw now why he was sent here. He remembered in this time Naruto's words: "Be more selfish, Urashi. I've given you everything I could. Now it's all up to you. When a shinobi dies, he dies alone. So let me tell you this: be more selfish. Don't be selfless. Don't be kind to everyone. Be cruel to your enemies. That's the way it should be. Domain expansion, the technique of our Uzukage. I gave you the scrolls and the things that are necessary to perform it. But remember, our Uzukage had a different domain, and you might have a different one. It all depends on the imagination. Broaden your imagination and see what happens. It can change the world. The shinobi doesn't always get stronger only by training. They get stronger in the midst of the battle. That's when a shinobi's instincts rise and he or she becomes a true monster," said Naruto to the Urashi, who was having his flashback when he and his friend were training. Urashi stood up slowly, as with a smile he was standing up. Sakuma jumped back, feeling a surge of, fright within him. What the hell is this feeling? He thought, looking at Urashi. Roshi started laughing. Yeah, I'll do it. Fuck it. Even if it's not that's something that I've tried. Well, it's worth giving it a shot. Naruto, thank you, said Arashi as he combined both of his hands in a weird hand seal. What's that hand seal? Thought Sakumo. Arashi took a deep breath. Well, all I have to do is let out my imagination and my chakra at the same time. This should be good, thought Arashi. Chains started erupting from his legs, his back, from his entire body. Domain expansion, said Arashi. Tombstones of chains. He completed his domain as Sakuma was surrounded with chains everywhere. Bottom, left, right, wherever he saw, chains were there. So this is the famous technique of Uzumaki, the one that the Uzukage used, domain expansion. Shit, who would have thought a brat like him had such a strong technique? Thought Sakumo. But then he was forced to jump away as chains erupted from everywhere as they started trying to pierce Sakumo, but he was known as the White Fang of the Leaf for a reason. He applied lightning chakra to his sword and started slashing through the chains. As Orochi saw this, and he started laughing psychotically. The chains are getting broken down just by a slash. I guess that's what happened when the domain is incomplete. But, thought Orochi with a smirk, as chains erupted from down as they grabbed Sakumo's legs and pulled him down. In a flash, Orochi was gone as he slammed his legs right into Sakumo's stomach. The man's eyes rolled back as he coughed out blood. Domain expansion, a technique where my strength, chakra control, and whatever I want within this domain is possible, said Orochi. As he held his hand back, chains surrounded his hands as he punched Sakumo right in the face, sending the man flying down. But before the man could recover, chains pierced right through his arms, his legs. As Orochi came towards him, the man was being held up by the chains. He couldn't do anything. Sakumo was now losing all his strength. These chains can't even drain chakra, thought Sakumo. He saw Arashi coming towards him in a slow walk. Arashi appeared in front of Sakumo. And this is it, White Fang of the Leaf, said Arashi. As Sakumo didn't have any words to say. Chains pierced right through his heart, where his chest, where his heart was, and the chains that were pinning him down loosened as Sakumo dropped down, dead. Once the domain retracted, Arashi dropped to his knees as he coughed up blood, and then he completely laid down as he started panting. I'm completely exhausted. Even with my chakra reserve, this shit consumes too much chakra, thought Arashi as he closed his eyes. He was gonna have a nice sleep. Meanwhile, Fugaku was not having a good time right now. Whatever he tried to do with Nagato, the man wouldn't, be tired at all. The Rinnegan, whatever ninjutsu he threw at Nagato, he would just absorb it. And when he absorbed it, his chakra levels would rise. That simply meant Nagato would not get tired. Shit, thought Fugaku. They had to retreat. But before they could, laser beam pierced right through the Susanoo, piercing right through Fugaku's stomach as he coughed up blood. As the Susanoo started retracting, as Arashi appeared in front of Fugaku with a saw with his hands that was changed into a saw. Any large words? Look at I, Fugaku, said Nagato. Fugaku just gave him a toothy grin. No, just do what you must, he said. Arashi, Nagato gave him a solitude. Farewell, wicked eye, he said as he drove down the saw, and Fugaku also died right there. Minato saw Sakuma and Fugaku dead. He cursed. Shit, looks like we have to retreat, he thought. He started screaming, "Everyone, retreat! We cannot win," he said, as Kisame and others Akatsuki member dropped right beside the Arashi, Nagato, and Naruto. They started healing their teammates and started retreating as well. As Minato looked at his forces, we cannot win a fight. That was already over from the start. Let's go. The mission has failed, said Minato. Flashback ends as Naruto looked at the sky. At the ceiling. He had lost to his father, but he was not at full strength. He was only 50%, and that simply meant that his father was, well, probably at the same level as him. He needed to get stronger. He knew now all the abilities of the Jougan, but he met someone in the midst of the battle. A flashback again. Once all the Konoha shinobi were gone, a red-haired man appeared before Naruto as he held his hand out. Naruto looked at the man. "Who are you?" he asked. "I never saw you in those Umakis that I rescued." "You're not from those Uzu, are you?" said Naruto, narrowing his eyes at the man. I'm not from Uzu, but rest assured, I am a Uzumaki, a pure-blooded one. I'm pretty sure you know about the royal-blooded Uzumakis, don't you? Said the man. Naruto nodded. The bloodlines of the Uzumaki who can wield the chakra chains. Isn't that right? Said Naruto. The man gave him a small nod. Yes. Your friend, Arashi, is also from that line. But let me tell you, Uzumaki Naruto, you and I are more similar than in one ways. Just being an Uzumaki, the man said as he opened his left eye to show the same eye as Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened. That's the Jougan. The man finished for Naruto. I have the same eye as you, but I hide it. I say to all the people that have lost their eye during the Third Great Shinobi War, that is right now. I'm currently 19 years old, and my name is Menma Uzumaki. Why don't we have a little chit-chat, Naruto? Because you don't know what our eyes are capable of when combined together, said Arashi with a smirk as he held his hand out. Naruto took his hand and stood up. Well, you have my full attention, Menma. Start speaking, said Naruto. Gladly, said Menma, as we jump back to the present time. When Naruto was talking with Mito, all thoughts went through his head. Well, he had currently invaded Konoha and was just sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. He was in the hospital, which was because he supposedly lost his ability to wield chakra since his inner chakra coils were completely destroyed. Well, there are some things that the Jougan could heal very quickly, and that was inner damage, so Naruto didn't have to worry about that. 3 days left to go, thought Naruto. Meanwhile, at the 5 Kage summit, all the Kages were sitting around the table, with Minato and the Kazekage's eyes widened with shock. What? said Minato. The Raikage gave him a nod. Yes, that son of yours, Naruto Uzumaki, has the power to revive all those Umakis that have died in the existence. You understand what that means, Minato, don't you? Said the Raikage. Minato gave him a slow nod. Yes, if that happens, then even if the five great nations combine their forces, it won't be enough to stop such a large army of Uzumakis. That's basically impossible. Only 5,000 of those monsters were equal almost. Only 5,000 of those monsters of the Uzumakis were enough to destroy a single hidden village who have more than 20,000 shinobis at their disposal. That's completely insane, said Onoki. As the Raikage and the Mizukage nodded in agreement. I completely agree. I suggest we form an alliance and make this information public disclosure. Uh, uh, this information open for public disclosure. But reviving all those Umakis from the past, that would be over 200,000 Uzumakis. Finished the Mizukage, Yagura was his name. As the Kazakage also looked at Minato. I suggest we form an alliance to deal with the Western Empire and Uzumaki Naruto. This is not something that we can just let pass. I understand why you wiped out Uzu, but I'm right now interested. Where did he get this information from? The Raikage shrugged. I got this information from one of the Uzumakis that were there. They feared the power and that the Uzumakis could wield, especially after the one that was born with the jougan. That's the eye's name. Your son, Minato, said the Raikage. I'm also interested. How did the Uzumaki barrier came down? That thing, that barrier, cannot even be deactivated by the Uzumakis. Isn't that right? Said Onoki, as all of them has sounds that we have no idea how we got through the barrier. The simple fact was the barrier was down when we attacked. It was like someone had planned this entire thing. Said Yagura. Minato was just days. If he here heard was correct, Naruto with his jougan had the power to, destroy the entire world if he wanted to. Minato made a decision in his mind. Village over everything. He was a Kage, the Hokage, and he also had his little daughter, his princess, and Kushina that he had to protect. He would make the sacrifice. Very well then. In Konoha, in 3 days, we'll have a meeting, and I'll make this information a public disclosure and announce war against the Western Empire. Does that sound good? All 5 great nations have an agreement with this. Minato said, as they all gave him a nod. The Western Empire was gonna be destroyed, and they'll make sure of it. That blasted revolution jutsu could not happen. They would make sure of it. They would not let the world end no matter what.